I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2019 to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Charlie, as is our custom, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, let's do approved minutes. The March 4th, 2019 regular meeting. Is
So
there
moved.
and a second?
Second?
Any comments, questions, changes? I had none.
Nothing.
Nothing? Hearing that, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusal, motion carries. Item 3, sign committee. Brian McGlone and Shirley Gerioni. This is to receive a report on the signage project and take possible action to authorize the first selectman to sign the
Thank you.
Connecticut Department of Transportation easement applications. Welcome.
Thank you so much for giving us your
No
time.
problem. We had some documentation that was shared with us that talked a little bit about the history of this project, but for those in the viewing audience, could we
Yes.
give them a summary? Thank you.
Yes, we're set to do that.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for hearing us out, and hopefully you'll welcome this sign committee report. For nearly 40 years, the Guilford Preservation Alliance, the GPA, has worked to establish and preserve a town identity and to protect and enhance its historic, natural, and cultural resources. 7 years ago, and when I went back through the records, it's almost 9 years ago, GPA engaged 26 nonprofit organizations, our Town Economic Development Department, our Chamber of Commerce, our first selectman, and our town planner, and other state agencies in a multi-year collaboration to develop a heritage tourism initiative. An identified major undertaking is the signage project. It's actually the last step. The first step was to get consensus and collaboration with all those nonprofits and municipal groups. And then reach consensus as to what we wanted a heritage tourism initiative to look like. So several other initiatives were identified earlier on and have been completed or are underway, including www.visitguilfordct.com, a robust website featuring Guilford's assets, easily accessible by residents and potential tourists. There were at least 30,000 some hits last year that we were able to identify. And it has an events calendar, so local residents can use it too. The information center and kiosk located on community center property, highly visible as all enter the town green and center from the north end. Historic walking tours of Guilford were created. Guided tours are available seasonally, and self-guided tour is available year-round. Name and date plaques with QR codes were placed on commercial buildings. The QR code was linked to a short story explaining the history and use of the building. The current project addresses the welcome and wayfaring signage, which is almost the final goal in this booklet that was produced telling Guilford's story. I don't know if you got a copy of that. Okay, we'll see that you get one, and it explains the need for coordinated and well-designed signage in Guilford, because right now we have a hodgepodge of signage. Okay, one initiative I neglected to mention was the collaboration between the house museums in programs, and some of them are already redesigning their signage to coordinate with this overall design that Brian will present in a few minutes. 2 years ago, a subcommittee was formed to address the signage project, another step in developing the heritage tourism program. It consists of GPA, EDC, and chamber members, along with local businesses and design professionals, to create, locate, and ultimately install the welcoming and wayfinding signs. Our purpose is building greater awareness to Guilford's attractions and resources while welcoming visitors to town. Guilford is a historic, sensitive town with tremendous historic resources. We have 4 National Register districts, 2 state scenic roads, 2 historic districts, an inventory of 680 architecturally significant homes, and many homes built before the Civil War. Fair Street is a fabulous example of every architectural design developed in America. Our need. Guilford has an antiquated hodgepodge of signs that lack a welcoming feeling and do not adequately direct tourists to our resources. These will be removed and replaced with new signs in different locations. We need the Board of Selectmen to endorse and support this initiative and have First Selectman Matt Huey sign the 6 easement applications required by Connecticut Department of Transportation, as all welcome and wayfinding signs will be located on ConnDOT's property. The action steps that we have completed are: the committee has identified 6 locations off I-95 at exits 57, 58, 59, north and south, where signs would be appropriate. The committee retained a local Bradford company, Autographics, John Miller, to design and fabricate sample designs. He had great assistance from a graphic artist, Mary Rapetti, who was part of our committee. After reviewing multiple variations, which took a year and a half at least, the committee approved the enclosed signs. Committee members donated $500 for this portion of the project. Preliminary project estimates per Autographics, $30,000 for the final design, materials, fabrication, and installation labor for all 6 signs. Committee recommends we establish an additional $20,000 for future repairs and replacements. Committee met with local CDOT representative, sharing desired locations, sign samples, and identified required approval steps from the state, since all sign site locations are on state property. Included in this package is the committee-approved signs by location, ConnDOT easement request forms, and a GIS location map. ConnDOT representative has provided verbal approval. That's our District 2, right, engineer?
I
Are
don't
we
remember which
District 2?
district we're in, but yeah, he's been
Whatever
out several
district we are,
times.
he's in charge.
Right.
Okay. So next steps to be completed will be identified by Brian, and he'll name as well the committee members.
Well, as we've talked, I mean, really, we were hoping for the easement forms that CDOT requires need to be signed by the first selectman, really as the owner of this, but, and as the principal spokesman for the town, that's just, I say, a fundamental requirement that they ask. So that's what we're looking for. So signing of those easements is what we're hoping for. Fundraising initiatives to cover the estimated costs, the $30,000 and the $20,000 is underway, and the committee will begin to formally solicit the grant. So we actually started that, and then we're going to talk to some business sponsors and private donors, as we're not asking for town money to complete this project. And then, of course, Autographics will fabricate and install the signs once funding has been secured. I'll probably put Shirley on the hook here because she did indicate, for example, the GPA will put up some money. I haven't fully clarified how much it will, but they're going to start, and we just recently, last week, submitted our first grant to the Guilford Foundation. Again, not sure, but we think there's going to be some seed money there as well. Can't be premature, but they'll advise by the middle of April. So then we'll just, again, continue to solicit, and we're hoping maybe the public will hear this and say, hey, they want to be part of this and donate some money as well. So our committee, Shirley mentioned, Shirley and I were on this committee, and Veronica Soul, she really at that time was working as a Highland House Museum and really did a lot of coordination for the Highland House. She also is a GPA member. Danita Aruni is from the Guilford Performing Arts Festival. At the time, she was more involved with the Shoreline Arts Alliance. Mike Mizell, committee member, is from the Economic Development Commission. Mary Rapetti, as Shirley mentioned, is from our design review. Paula Barakat, local business and realtor. Roberta Flannery, well, I've got her listed as a Soundview Family YMCA. In fact, all of these people were involved in numerous things. We just sort of picked one, but she was that representative. At the time, Kathy Tester represented our Shoreline Chamber of Commerce, and Steve Kay from Baloo's Wine Bar and Restaurant. So we tried to get a diversified group on our working committee, and all of these people and more participated in the original workshops that Shirley talked about when there were 26 different organizations in there. And that report really was an output of those couple segments and workshops that we had.
I neglected to say the workshops were conducted by a staff member from the National Trust for Historic Preservation. The GPA picked up the tab for that. Okay.
So if in your package we included an example or some examples of the sign, Mike, if you can come in on this. Welcome to Guilford, the National Register of Historic Places, 1639. If you see, there's a cardboard cutout model of this in my office, but frankly, it was Welcome to Historic Guilford, and our CDOT folks took exception to the historic portion, so we eliminated that and changed it to this other tagline, which we think is as strong or stronger. And then below that is just a typical example of the wayfinding sign and pointing people in the right direction on a large basis. I mean, to the green, to the harbor, museums, and visitor info. We're not, highlighting a particular business, but just in general to get people around. Actually, the second one that I had here just kind of got into more of the specifications. As Shirley mentioned, if you see today, we have these entering the Guilford Town Historic Center. There's about 5 of these around town. Nice, worn, rotted, and don't represent us well. So these are going to be coming down, and then these other signs will be going up. And for the benefit, again, of our audience, we say 57 North. So if you're coming up 95, you get off the exit, a little grass island here, short of the businesses. Again, the CDOT requires this easement. It's pretty fundamental, but at least it highlights where they're going to be going. And then there's a GIS map location that the Connecticut Department requires as well. So that's just each one that we have to submit to the state. 57 South, again, we picked a green in between the little grass island. 58 North, similar space. And by the way, we did go out with our Connecticut DOT representative. We actually carry that. The sign that's in my office is the full-size sign of what it will be, and we literally stood out there with him. They wanted to look for view lanes. They wanted to go back, walk back 30 feet, 50 feet, and when can you start reading it? Because that goes into their regulations as well. 58 South. The other thing, they wanted to make sure we didn't impact view lanes to like stop signs or any other pedestrian type signs. In the case of 59 North, it's actually across. If you come off the exit, it's actually across in the grass, the grassy knoll. It'll be there. And then in the case of 59 South, again, there's another little grass area, and you can see even with the sign in place, it doesn't block or impact the stop sign. So again, our CDOT rep came out with us on a couple different occasions actually, and walked with us and as we plotted where we wanted these signs to go. So that's kind of our overview.
And after we complete this, we hope to then concentrate on the town center with wayfinding signs.
Yeah, if I can, sure. Since we're here. I mean, so, the wayfinding is now just taking something a little bit smaller. So some of these signs, for example, along Route 1 or the intersection of Route 1 and 77, or out at 59, Route 1, 50, maybe 57. Then even at the green, for example, pointing to the marina at the kind of Water Street, Whitfield Street corner, there will be signs.
Are those additional signs included in that initial $30,000?
No, they're not. They're not. So
Just
that's
the
another.
signs at
It's
the end.
another
6
phase.
signs is $30,000.
Yeah.
5,000 a sign.
But, I mean, this is how this project will continue going forward, but no, it's not included
Incrementally.
in this.
How many of those wayfinding signs do you anticipate?
In addition to these,
In addition to the 6, yeah.
we haven't figured that out yet.
Okay. I wholeheartedly support this. One of the things that I have noticed is, and particularly since the state is now starting to put more signage up, although the Route 77 project will result in a net decrease in signs, and I know that you were very sensitive to that
Yes.
because of the scenic nature of 77.
Right.
But I counted from the green down to the marina,
It's unbelievable.
sign pollution.
Right.
Okay, whether
That's what
it's
we're
street
aiming to
signs,
eliminate.
yeah, so, street signs, et cetera, so, anything that can be done,
Right.
to minimize that would be, in my mind's eye, an objective you wanna try to attain.
It's not easy to work with the state because they get
Really?
money for those signage, like signs Office 59,
Right.
advertising McDonald's and other fast food places. They get paid to put those up there. So it's gonna be a long slog to get rid of a lot of those signs.
Even on some of those signs, though, that we talked to the, our CDOT rep, in some cases, they're on an individual pole,
Post, right.
where if they just took and put
Right.
3 or 4 of them on a pole and clustered it a little bit, it would neaten it up. They'd still be there, but whenever we can, we're gonna try to take this style
Right.
and eliminate
Something else.
some of those
Yes.
other things.
Yeah, perfect,
But
exactly.
and that's partly why we haven't been able to say how many do we need in total,
Right.
because we have to really kind of figure out how many are we trying to eliminate and exactly where are they?
Do we know who's put up all the other signs that you're, I mean, are they all previous iterations of a committee like yours or the town?
Mostly state signage,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, Lou,
like at Water Street
I'm
and
just trying to think of the static you're gonna run into, trying, that's your point.
it's the
gonna be-
state. It's, like they just put those pedestrian crossing signs on 146 coming from the water tower to the green. They have to put a sign saying there's gonna be a pedestrian crossing. Then they put a sign saying, here you are, this pedestrian. And when we complained, they said, the ConnDOT rep said, it's federal
Federal.
standards.
It comes with the federal money.
Fighting the
Absolutely.
bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's coming down is the brown signs we have now that refer to the houses. I assume all those are coming down?
Oh, no, not the
Those-
brown signs.
Not the
for
brown signs.
museums.
Okay.
When you get the book, you'll see, this is what I was talking about, that the people pay the state for. But look
Oh,
at-
yes,
Look at that pollution,
Right.
that multiplicity of signs.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, the brown signs
browns
are
was-
good.
Okay,
They're
good.
indicating historic resources.
Exactly. There are
Or-
some signs now that, I've seen them on Route 80 and I think on Route 1 that talk about, welcome to Guilford, an agricultural community with a little
Yes,
graphic on
they're
it.
smaller and.
Yeah, those stay.
Yes, they asked
Okay.
the Scenic Road Committee for permission for
Okay.
that years ago.
All right.
These signs are coming down. You're entering the,
Historic district.
yes.
Yeah, that
The
tugged at my
GPA put
heart a
those
little
up
bit.
20-some years
I know, they've
ago.
all, yeah.
And 3
Joe
years
Arnold, I
ago,
remember him putting them up. first.
Pardon me?
Joe Arnold put them up
Yes, he
first.
was running around putting them up.
I might be
They
cra-
lasted 20-some years, amazingly enough, but I did ask Jim Portley 3 years ago to take them down. I figured we had to be the first ones to get rid of the signs.
Well, I may be crazy, but I mean, personally, I'd love to have one of those. I think you should auction them off or something and maybe raise some money for
Put it
the
on sale.
project.
Right.
Really?
All over it.
You
Oh,
know,
there's no
yeah.
question.
Well, that's a great
Yeah.
idea. Thank
We
you.
got some fundraising right
Sometimes
there.
restaurants
Right.
put cards
let's see,
out.
Sue, there's
Sue's
4
got
of them,
a bit of-
there's 4 of them, so I think there'd be $7,500 apiece. I mean,
That's it.
just the starting bids.
Good thought, good thought. I did want to mention that we get tremendous number of visitors at the kiosk, the visitor center kiosk next to the community center. We got like over 500 last summer, and they come from all over the world and the United States, so we're keeping track. I think we've hit almost every state in the Union, and the countries are amazing, the number of countries. So Guilford does get a lot of visitors.
One other thing that, it's another project that we've been working on with the state. You may not realize it, but if you go out on 95, with the exception of exit 58, 57 and 59 don't say Guilford at all. So if you're coming, from Madison, there's a little sign that says Guilford next 3 exits, and when you're coming north, there's one that says Guilford next 3 exits. But when you get to exit 57 north, for example, it says Route 1. When you're coming south, it actually says North Branford. No reference to Guilford at all. I mean, nothing for Goose Lane, but I mean, to an outsider, what's Goose Lane? And that's what 59 says. So we've asked our CDOT rep, and that's a budget issue with the state, but at least we're trying to get it on their radar to, when they do some work on signage, to get Guilford there, because that's the biggest challenge, is get people off the highway and in. And one other thing I should just mention is, on some of these in town or along Route 1 that we want to eventually get to, I mean, even Mike Mizell is an example. He came from New Jersey. He said, when he was suggesting or thinking about moving here, people said, oh, you got to stop in Guilford, got to stop in Guilford. So he got off exit 57, drove along Route 1. I said, wow, nice shopping centers, nice stores, car lots, repair places. Missed the green. So that's another reason.
This is a
we-
great project.
When you refer to the Route 77 project, are you referring to the money that we're going to use to extend the sidewalk under?
No, this is a signage project on Route 77. They have these chevrons that will indicate that curves are coming. But the net effect is it'll be something like 18
less signs.
on
Yes.
77 in Guilford.
Right.
So it was a win for us.
Fewer, more
Yes.
effective.
Well, my question is, back to the proposed sidewalk extension
Right.
project. Does that perhaps change where the signs might go at that exit? I mean, this is not a problem, but we just need to
No,
keep that in
it-
mind.
It looks to be far enough back
Far enough back
from the roadway. That's one of the
Yes.
considerations, is keeping it away from the roadway so it
Right.
doesn't block viewing.
So sight lines.
Sight lines,
Agreed.
exactly. So, good point, though. Brian, just a quick question, as I keep trying to tie everything, not everything, but a lot of what we do back to the sustainable CT and the Sustainable Guilford Initiative. Does this at all play into it? I'm assuming the Heritage Tourism Initiative in general does.
Yes.
And the question is, does this signage project help us in that regard? Have we had conversations with
Well, it
Howard? or-
directs visitors
Right.
to our resources. And the goal is to maintain our historic resources. As I said, that collection of 680 architecturally significant homes
Right,
or
right.
structures, and that includes a few cemeteries as well.
Right.
And the walking tours will help do that. We have a scheduled tour for the American Society of Architects in May. They contacted us to have a walking tour of Guilford Green and mainly Fair Street. And so we're all set up for those. Those are directed tours, self-directed tours with a QR code,
Yep.
or directed tours by one of our volunteers. Mainly Tracy Tomaselli and Dennis Cullerton, 2 historians. So, the whole idea is to protect those resources and make them accessible viewing, so
And
it
to
is
promote the fact that
sustainable.
they exist. right?
Yes, and it's a small economic development
Yeah.
initiative too, because we're promoting Guilford. People have to eat,
Right.
and they have to sleep, and they shop.
Good.
I will, I'll double check, Matt, but I would broadly, thinking about that sustainable Connecticut, should have thought of that a little bit more. I'm pretty confident this will fit into a couple different places on that checklist
Checklist, yeah.
of how
The-
we're
the
helping
pillars, yeah.
tourism, how we're helping retailing and businesses
And
in
histo-
general.
and historic nature of the.
And there's even some transportation elements that,
Could
this
play
might,
into
that this might play into, because it's helping. I mean, is it traffic calming or not, but, it's making it a little bit easier to get around.
Excellent, thank you. Any further questions or comments? I will offer a comment. Thank you very much, Shirley, once again for volunteering on
Oh.
behalf of this community. You've been doing it for years, and we greatly
Thank
appreciate
you.
your
It's
work.
my pleasure.
We need a motion to.
Yeah, and is there a motion to allow the first selectman to sign the appropriate CDOT easement applications?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You wanna
Abstained?
Pass those over to Matt.
I'll
Thank
sign
you.
them with the completion of
Thank
the
you for
meeting.
your
Okay.
support.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you for all the wonderful work you do for the
Thank you.
town.
Thank you.
It takes a village, right?
It does. We need to promote that village, right?
Well, Mark.
I just have a little editorial comment,
Certainly.
and everything is great, and I totally support it, but I know the state sometimes is probably a little more complicated to work with, and, you know, you said they get money from McDonald's and other places, but the state is also trying to pay our bills and not tax us too much, so I kind of speak up in their defense a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a better way to do it, but, you know,
I'm sure there's a much better aesthetic way.
yeah, okay.
We'll do it the
Anyway,
way there.
because
Thank you,
we're the
Sandy.
state, you know?
Yeah.
Good.
Brian, you're around all morning?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No, at 10:30.
I'll catch you before then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Item 4, Finance Director Mary Jane Malvasi. Received the, 4.1 is to receive our monthly report from the Finance Director. What would you like to bring to our attention?
Well, as of the end of February, we are slightly better than where we were this time last year. Last year we're at 97.4% collected, and we're at 97.8. You will note that tax collection is not quite at 100% yet, where we typically are at this time. I looked up last year in the between the months of March and June, we brought in over $900,000. On the off chance we at least bring in half of that, we will at least meet our anticipated budget. There are a number of delinquencies this year that the tax collector has made note of. I'm not sure if she's met with Matt yet.
She has, and I have about a 4-page list of potential tax sale items. Some of those are residential, some of those are automobile, but
Right. So, all in all, our revenues are doing well, and don't anticipate not meeting our budgetary requirement for this year.
okay. Any questions on revenue?
Similarly, with the expenditures, we're slightly higher than last year. Last year we were at 64.7. We're at 65.7% overall with the Board of Education this year. One item to note under our debt retirement for interest, we do have other budgeted funds that would cover that. Our credits that we have, it just hasn't been done yet, so if you were to take that into account, it would certainly bring that down.
Yeah.
So, capital, we've done a good job spending our capital this year at 98% so far. It's a line item we actually prefer to spend than having a number of leftover purchase orders into the following year, so I'm actually glad to see that number is there.
Good.
Overall, again, we don't see anything to alarm us at this point as to our expenditures being too far over. So, at this point, we're looking to be right on again, and like we were similar to last year.
We talked a little bit about Public Works. Earlier this month, we had some back-to-back storms, 2 or 3 of them, on overtime and materials.
Yeah, and as you can see, we're pretty much, we're a little bit higher than last year, but we've,
It's tough to tell with all that, that's large an encumbrance.
correct, right, and, as we start to, shrink our budgets somewhat, the percentage will skew year to year, so.
Well, through February, we still had 31,000 left in the overtime budget, so. And the demand on that line item will.
Should diminish,
Should
yeah.
diminish,
Mhm.
exactly. Okay. Any other questions? Anything on warrants? Medical benefits. In light of the decision we made the other day, the surplus continues to grow.
Correct, yeah, you can see in February that our claims were higher, and
Yeah.
as expected, with the way the HSA works, employees are paying more out of their deductible at the beginning of the year, and as they start to reach those deductibles, then the claims come on our side, so, the February amount, fits right into that trend. Still, even with that, we are anticipating, close, $770,000 worth of surplus this year. And
And stop loss is now starting to approach the break-even point.
correct.
One of the concerns that I had during budget season, which still hasn't finished, as the voters will still get a chance to weigh in, was that our, I don't know whether folks noticed that, our stop-loss insurance increased by about $400,000, which is gonna take the break-even point to about 1.7 million. So this would be the next couple of months would be a good indicator of where we're going with that.
Right, and we are going to be interviewing firms for our healthcare broker, and stop loss is, and how they approach stop loss and some different possible options for us are some of the questions we have to talk to them about.
Thank you.
Okay, I see you have a notation at the bottom regarding the HSA contributions.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you just help me understand the asterisk there? Budgeted expenditures and revenues are net. And estimated HSA claims is like, there's offsets and there's like double and triple negatives in there. I'm trying to understand.
Okay, so 2 years ago, when the Board of
Fiscal
Ed
year
started,
18.
yeah,
Yeah.
2 years ago when we started with the HSAs with the Board of Education, through our talks with the brokers, they had anticipated a possible $1 million savings overall for the year because of the new HSA. So even though that $1 million wasn't in our projections per se for claims, we chose to reduce the Board of Ed's payment into the HSA in recognition of that. Similarly, last year when the town started with their HSA, we anticipated a $200,000 savings on the town side for the same reason.
Yep.
There's a lot more people on the Board of Ed, so that's why the difference. So we also took that deduction. So if you were to look at the initial budget that was put together with our health professionals, it would have been $200,000 more than what the town is actually putting in. So we've adjusted that on the revenue and expense side, and that note is more for those of us working with them to remember why there's a $200,000 difference in those numbers. So you won't see that in the coming year because now those numbers will be embedded into the initial claims numbers. So moving forward, it will.
Well, the town's contribution levels off after the third, I think it's the third year, anyway, on the town side. The town's contribution for the first couple of years was greater.
I'm not talking about the we're talking about
I
two
know,
different
that-
things.
I
Okay.
understand that.
All right.
Be interesting what the new brokers have to say.
Yes, yes. I have a great list of questions for them that I put together.
A lot of questions.
I'm sorry, I always have questions.
No, it's a great thing. So on balance, what I'm reading here is, it's being managed well. We're doing well, we're funding it properly. And it's where we need to be. In fact, we have this opportunity from time to time to
To review it.
use those certain
Plan
funds
seems
for
to be
certain-
working, better watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's not tinker with it, right? But Lou, that's a good point. In our presentations to the Board of Finance and discussions around the formulation of the budget, we had specifically asked for them to consider using some of these funds to but to enhance the other post-employment benefits trust that we established last year with $200,000 out of this fund. So, as you can see, the estimated fund balance at the end of the current year is about almost $4.6 million. So, I think the number I had thrown out there was $700,000 or $800,000 to get that OPEB fund to about $1 million.
Yeah, and so with the new health broker, hope to really hone in on what we really need to have in this fund to manage it correctly. We had preliminary discussions with our current health broker, and they didn't recommend taking anything out of it. They felt we needed the 4 million. We feel that that's slightly too high. So as much as we know that we feel that we can take money out of the fund, we have to be cognizant that we have to be able to have enough money in the fund to manage it moving forward. So again, looking for that balance, something I'm hoping to discuss
Yes.
with potential new health brokers and moving forward.
And let's remember something, the $4.6 million is over 4 times the estimated monthly expenditures. And at one point, that same consulting group said 2 months would be fine. So the number moves, the bogey moves. So I'm fully comfortable with moving some of that money.
Oh, absolutely,
into that. Right.
absolutely.
Good.
I totally agree. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go less than 2 months, so we'll make sure we keep that.
Any
Let you
further?
know in July.
Thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, item 4.2, discuss and take possible action on the bonding resolutions as prepared by bond counsel. In addition, send the various school improvement projects for bonding to the Planning and Zoning Commission for mandatory referral pursuant to section 8.24 of the Connecticut General Statutes. We have the resolutions in front of us, and there are 3 of them, so there'll be 3 bond questions, 2 on the town side, 2 on the town side.
2 on the
and
town side,
one on the
yeah.
Board of Education. And they're here, and if someone would indulge me, do you waive the reading of the entire resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, that motion carries. So is there, these 3 projects are the ones that we had identified, these projects are the ones that we had identified, and I'll just read the short version, thank you. The first of which, resolution recommending an appropriation and bond authorization of $3,005,000 for upgrades to the heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems at Cox Elementary School, the replacement of windows, doors, and blinds at Melissa Jones Elementary School, and future project design costs for various town schools. One thing to be noted is that includes the financing costs, that number includes financing costs. The second of which is a resolution recommending an appropriation and bond authorization of $2,402,000 for the purchase of new and replacement vehicles and equipment, and that's on the town side. The third is a resolution recommending an appropriation and bond authorization of $1,135,000 for the reconstruction of the various town roads and infrastructure improvements at the Department of Public Works site. So those are the 3. Is there a motion to approve those and move them back to the Board of Finance for their consideration this evening?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on these projects? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. All right, item 4.3, consider and take possible action on notice of annual town budget meeting and budget referendum. Again, I will, okay. Again, I will ask your indulgence not to waive the reading of the entire document. This is a resolution to approve the date and time and place of the annual town budget meeting, which is scheduled for the 2nd, April 2nd at 7:30 at the community center. Is there a motion?
So,
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none. Motion carries. One thing of note while we're finishing up talking about the budget meeting, we are going to be able to have absentee budgets available in advance of the normal distribution date. For years, the absentee ballots were not available until the Wednesday after the annual budget meeting. And I think it was past precedent that their misinterpretation that because the budget could potentially be changed at the annual budget meeting, our charter provides for a mechanism whereby if at least 300 folks show up and at least 200 of them vote to decrease the amount of the appropriation recommended by the Board of Finance, that would be what folks would vote on the following week. Well, because the state, the timeline to actually get the ballots produced, et cetera, the question on the ballot on the 9th, the budget referendum, does not have a number on it. It has the language basically says the amount as recommended by the Board of Finance or reduced by appropriate action at the annual town meeting.
Perfect.
So
It
I
doesn't
think.
matter what it happens at night.
Exactly.
You're either yes or no for what happens at night.
Exactly. So it does not look as if we're going to be able to have, there's a state requirement that says in order to use, to distribute absentee ballots by mail, that you have to have the ballots available 3 weeks prior to the vote. Based on the fact that the board of Finance will not act on the resolutions until this evening, we're not going to make that 3-week window, but they will be available in the town clerk's office prior to the annual town meeting. So
I
our
wonder
hope.
if looking at next year, we can,
That's Charlie,
Okay.
exactly what I've been thinking of. If we could move this process.
if I had a week in the middle of it.
Exactly, if we could add that in, so folks could be able to do that. And the other thing, I think I mentioned this at the last workshop meeting, we are changing the hours. The voting hours were from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We're gonna open an hour earlier, so
Great.
there'll be like normal, most elections, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. I actually had gotten some correspondence from someone who represented a couple of folks who said, hey, we travel to New York all the time, every day, getting to a poll, that's, after 6 is difficult, so. Anyway, all
Good.
right. Item 5,
Senor Carl.
Carl Balistrate. 5.1 is to receive a presentation regarding the Statue of Liberty Museum and Stony Creek Granite. Welcome back to the table.
Good morning.
Our esteemed former First Selectman and Board of Selectmen member for many years.
Well, as most of you know, the natural resource that we have, Guilford Point to Branford Harbor, is our famous pink granite. John Beatty's quarry down in Leeds Island produced all of the granite for the original pedestal for the Statue of Liberty. And that was just one project that his quarry worked on. But the official photograph of the pedestal before the statue was started was taken by the Park Service and the man who was the chief engineer. And I thought that I would like to present this to you, and maybe we can hang it in the town hall, because I know you people know about it, but a lot of the public still doesn't realize that stone, I mean, they watch, what is it, Liberty Insurance and Liberty Bank every night, and my wife says if I say one more time, that's 3 times granite, she's gonna get rid of all the TVs, but anyway, I thought that would be good for you to have here in the
Thank you.
town hall. Several years ago, it was announced that on Liberty Island, opposite, the opposite end of the island from the statue, the the Park Service was going to build a brand-new multi-million-dollar museum. And the Park Service, for some reason, was encouraging China to bid on the granite, and one of the, 2 or 3 South American countries. They didn't realize what a political machine we could be, but we got our 2 U.S. senators involved, Rosa DeLauro, involved our state legislators, Ted Kennedy and Sean Scanlon, and now Christine. But we got all of these people working together to make sure that Stony Creek Granite not only was able to bid on the job, but supporting the idea that they get the bid. And it worked out in the end. Also, simultaneously, the people at the quarry in Stony Creek, oh, and by the way, the original pedestal is from Guilford, Leeds Island, but then the abutments that were made, the enlargements and whatnot in the 1950s, all of that came from the only pink granite quarry in existence, and that's Stony Creek. And now, with the opening of this brand new multi-million-dollar museum, on May 16th, is also a great deal of the museum is made up of Stony Creek pink granite. But at the same time that they were bidding on this, the people at the quarry were able to get a geological trademark for all of this pink granite from Guilford to Brantford. And it is now called, the trademark is Stony Creek Granite. It's all the same stone, but it's an international trademark, and that was important for the quarry to obtain. But anyway, all of the money was raised by individuals, over $100 million for the museum, which is sort of historically significant because when the original pedestal was made, starting with President Grant and get him coming all the way up to Grover Cleveland, the federal government did not want to pay for any of the pedestal. So this Joseph Pulitzer went on a fundraising effort, and he raised over $100,000. Well, his efforts caused over $100,000 to be raised, which paid for the pedestal in those days. So they're just following sort of historic precedent by building this new museum with public donations. And because the ribbon cutting is on May 16th, which is the middle of the week, none of our Congress people or our legislators can go because both are in session. We're going to organize a press conference in the Stony Creek Quarry for the Saturday after. That'll be on the May 18th. Now, it can't be open to the public because of insurance problems. They have to go through some steps even when we have our quarry talks. But we will be inviting the Board of Selectmen from Guilford and Brantford, the Economic Development Commissioners from both towns, the Chamber of Commerce co-chairman, and all of our elected officials that helped with that. To thank them for all their efforts. It is really significant that the local industry is still providing a stone for one of America's most important national monuments. So you'll all be getting an invitation. The other thing I wanted to share with you very quickly, I'm still cleaning out boxes. And I found this, which I'm going to give to Brian. It's a Guilford Industrial Development Commission report, full report. And Linda and I were having fun yesterday because as part of this packet, there's a list of all of the businesses and their owners in the town of Guilford. So we were going through things like Maple Shade Farm and Monticello's and Cello's Oyster House, etc.
Was your father's business in there?
No, because we were shut down by then.
Okay.
This is from the 80s. But Shoreline Television is in here.
Great. Oh, boy. Oh, thank you.
So anyway,
Oh.
I'm giving that to Brian because it's complete, everything's there, a
Wow.
lot of history. And then the last thing, I just want to share a letter that I found along with several others from July 16th, 1987. We had this young whippersnapper that wrote a letter to the Democratic Town Committee. This letter is written to request consideration for membership in the Guilford Democratic Town Committee. I would also like to be considered for nomination as a candidate for the Board of Finance in this year's municipal election. And it's signed Matt Hoey.
Oh,
So
that's
anyway,
great.
Thank you, Carl.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carl, thank you very much.
I'll give this to Karen in the office.
As always, Carl, thank you for your continued
Thank you.
service to this community, and we'll be honored to have that picture somewhere.
Whippersnapper,
Of
huh?
note. Whippersnapper.
Lips.
It's 2-3 years ago now, let me tell you, right? Thank you, Carl.
I think we should have a semi-regular segment in our meetings.
Yes, with Carl, that's
For
right.
Carl.
Carl, the
You never
historian.
know who's gonna, what letter's
Exactly.
gonna pop up.
Oh, my word. All right, I would like at this point to add a couple of items to the agenda. The first of which is the new number 6, which is consideration for the purchase of a new truck at Public Works. Is there a motion to add that?
So moved.
Second?
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
And then secondly, under 7.7, add another item, permission for use of the Guilford Town Green, 7.7 for the Guilford Performing Arts Festival. Is there a motion?
Make the motion.
And a second. Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's take on the new number 6 truck. For those who, I think most everybody here is familiar,
Hand it out
Tom,
to us?
yeah, I handed the document out to you. Tom Fillion, our Director of Public Works, was in an accident, Jesus, a couple of weeks ago now, after having been up for over 40 hours. He fell asleep on his way home at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The good news is Tom did not sustain any serious injuries. He was pretty sore for a while, but the vehicle was a total loss as determined by Kermit. And what you see is Kermit is the salvage value on a 2016 vehicle was $30,915. And we have before us a proposal from Northwest Hills Automotive, which is one of the state approved vendors. And largely we're purchasing the same truck with a consistent package, and the cost is $33,606. So almost all the costs are being offset. We're looking at $2,500, $2,700 to replace the truck. So is there a motion?
Excuse me, well, I'll make the motion now, question.
All right, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the vehicle as described in the state of Connecticut contract vehicle order form in the amount of $33,606.55?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
And a second.
So my question is, I'm looking at this order form. Is it you said it's the same, is it in fact a 2016 vehicle we're buying, or we're buying a newer
No,
vehicle?
we're buying a brand new.
That was
vehicle.
exactly my
I
question.
don't see it anywhere,
Brand new
oddly
vehicle,
enough, on
yeah.
there. It just says the
So we're
vehicle.
getting a 2019.
Yeah.
So actually, even though there's a slight upcharge, we're getting a newer car, a brand new truck.
And one of the reasons for that is because we're buying off the state contract, which shows a significant discount over buying retail. However, Karma, as the insurance company, does not base it against your purchase price. It bases it against
Oh.
the value of the vehicle.
Yeah, they gotta
as
take an
determined.
average of the wholesale and
Yep.
retail. There's a formula they use, and they're very, the
Surprising.
insurance companies are very particular and square with that, frankly.
Right, yeah. So the net is about
That's great.
$2,700.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
I mean,
there a
not great
motion?
for
Well, we already
Tom,
have a motion on the table.
Have
right?
happy ending, yeah.
And the anticipation that it's gonna be $2,700 after the offset from Kermit, so. We have a motion on the table, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries.
That's great.
Yep,
It's good to hear Tom's okay.
yes, even
Yes,
better.
yeah, very.
Okay, item 7. Appointments and resignations. 7.1, act on recommendation to appoint Scott Edmund to the Housing for Economic Development Planning Committee to fill a vacancy. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
And-
So moved.
There you go.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Act on a recommendation to reappoint Randall Cartney to the Historic District Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2024. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained?
Aye. Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion carries. 7.3 is to act on a request from the Marina Commission to move Anthony Capola from an alternate to regular member to fill a vacancy for a term to expire November 30th, 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Item 8. 8.1, and these are requests for use of town property.
Can I just make one little comment on
Sure.
those three? We used to get either the application or little bios or something, because some of these people, I haven't met or no go,
Right.
and I just,
Didn't we have one on?
we used to get
Scott
them
Edmund?
periodically, I didn't see any.
We had one on
Okay.
Edmund.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
usually do it
There's
for
something.
new appointments, but if you want it for reappointments or moving them, we can still get them.
Yeah, only if whatever info you got, that'd
Okay,
be.
if I have a.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I didn't actually see the one on Scott Edmund, but I know about, he's currently on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and
Well, I'm not arguing with any of them, and
Yeah.
I'm willing to go along with recommendations of the committees and stuff, but, I am voting on somebody I don't know.
It's helpful to get a little more detail.
We'll do that. Okay. Did we approved all 3,
Yes.
right?
Yep, yep.
we did. Okay, good.
I didn't mean to.
Yep, no problem. Item 8, 8.1, act on request from the Guilford Arts Center to waive section 314-2A of the town code to allow the serving of beer and wine during its craft expo on the green taking place July 19th to 21, 2019 for modifications to the approved guidelines for alcohol and on the green. Good-
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You say your name.
I'm Dawn Tisha.
Yep.
For the Guilford Arts Center.
And I'm Dee
Hey,
Jacob
Dee.
from the Marketplace.
That's right. Last year, we approved the new arrangement for the serving of alcohol on the green, well, beer and wine, right? It's just beer and wine. And from my understanding, that the result was as expected. There were no issues, there were no problems at all, correct?
Correct.
So if I just give you a
Yes.
historical perspective.
Yeah.
For the past 4 years, during the Guilford Arts Expo, wine and beer was served on the green. 3 years ago, there was a resolution or ordinance passed by the Board of Selectmen for establishing guidelines in terms of that green, which were established to consider all possible events. So 3 years ago, we sought a modification to those guidelines for this specific event, as allowed by the ordinance, to allow us to, well, actually 2 years ago, we didn't ask for a change. Last year, we asked for a change that allowed that the designated area be waived, which is in item 3, so that families, et cetera, could all sit together, whether or not they choose to have beer and wine. And that we established the marketplace location was going to be to control the entry and exit. We also asked for a waiver on the 100% IDing. If you go to any establishment in Guilford, there isn't a place that we do 100% IDing.
Right.
But the permittee and the server is responsible to ensure that they don't overserve as well as serve underage.
That's right.
But we didn't ask for a waiver on the wristbanding.
Right.
This year, we're saying, asking to continue the same request, which is to have the designated area actually be the whole food court, and that people who wish to purchase beer and wine can sit with people who don't wish to purchase beer and wine. That we waive the mandatory 100% IDing, as we have in the past, but that we don't need to go through the artificial step of wristbanding them. We're responsible for observing everyone in the area as well as control their entrance and exit. That's a request.
So the distinction is this year you want to eliminate the wristband.
Because the wristbands don't really serve any purpose per se. What they, what we're supposed to be looking for and making sure that alcohol purchase isn't going to the wrong person. And in much the same way that you're looking at who you're going to ID or not ID. In now 4 years of experience, we've had one case where we denied somebody serving because we thought they might be potentially underage and didn't have an ID. This is 4 years of experience. This is not a raucous event. But it is part of extending the Guilford hospitality and not seeming overbearing in terms of what we do.
Wonderful. I am supportive of the waiver, the waiver that we executed last year. I would, however, because the wristband is something that the police department traditionally would weigh in on, I would like to forward this to the police chief and the police commission for their consideration. We take advice from them relative to these things, so.
And the history.
Right, right. So, if you wouldn't mind, thank you for coming today. I am favorably disposed to the continuation of the waiver that you had, that we've granted. And we'll wait for the police.
I agree.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
I
So-
support it too, it's just a matter of caution, just make sure the touch weighs in or whatever.
right. So, we're gonna refer this to the chief. And this is, the waiver is for the wristbands, right?
Well, so the town ordinance states that you have item 3 states the designated area is only restricted to those of 21 years of age or over, to people there, which we're asking for that waiver to
That's a new
continue for
waiver
the
as well.
third year.
Okay.
And that we have mandatory IDing, which is in item 4, and we're asking for that continued waiver. So the new question, so we have 3 requests.
Right.
The third one is about the wristbanding. Since you're not performing an ID, wristbanding somebody is
Right.
sort of.
All right. To assist us with the police commission, could we get something in writing specifically talking about the new
the
waivers?
three.
Yep.
All right. Great.
I mean, it's not an issue at this point.
Yeah, we've got some time, but I would hope to get this to the police police chief and the commission. I don't know whether he.
Have you
needs to commission
contacted them prior to today's meeting?
The police chief?
or-
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so that's just as well.
Yeah, okay. Great. Well, if you get that to my office, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 7.2, act on request from the Guilford Art League to use the green and to place a sign on the green advertising its exhibit and sale of original fine art taking place July 19th to 21st, 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 8.3, act on request from the country school to place a sign on the green advertising its April tours taking place April 15th to the 18th, and its school fair taking place April 25th, 2019. Sign placement 4:1 to 4:15 and 4:15 to 4:25. Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 8.4, act on request from the Guilford Keeping Society to place a sign on the green advertising its Wines of the World fundraiser taking place April 27th, 2019. Sign placement 4:13 to 4:27. Is
So
there a-
moved.
And a second.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 8.5, act on request from the Guilford High School swim team to place a sign on the green advertising its shredding event taking place May 11th, 2019. Sign placement 4:27 to 5:11. Is there a motion? And-
Yes.
And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 8.6, and this is the, wait, excuse me. We are missing one from the printed. Did we, the Guilford Youth and Family Services and Day to place the purple flags? Did that fall off?
Oh.
Somehow it fell off.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it should be on there.
all right. So, yeah, so we're gonna add that to the agenda, because actually, we added the wrong one in here. So, add 8.6, which is a request from Guilford Youth and Family Services and Day to place a display of purple flags on the green from April 6th to May 5th, 2019. Is there a motion to add?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, on the item itself, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. So, we now have 8.7, which is act on a request from the Guilford Performing Arts Festival, use the green September 26th, 29th, 2019 for a welcome center tent and limited performance area for its festival. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Item 8, correspondence, Public Works Monthly Report. Any comments or questions on that? Hearing none. 9.2, Building Officials Monthly Report. Anything there?
Interesting that, with 8 months, looks like a slow year.
Pardon me?
What?
It's another slow building year.
Yeah.
Be interested to know the dollar value of those building permits.
Gotcha. And just as a bit of information for this board, if you didn't hear, Bill Thody, our building official, has decided to retire from the town of Guilford. And we will shortly be closing. When is the window on the applications close?
End of this month.
Right.
I
And,
don't
and,
know exactly, but it's open right now.
right, and Bill, consistent with the professional nature that he's comported himself over the years, gave us a full month notice as opposed to the common practice of a couple of weeks. So we're grateful for Bill's consideration there. You also, correspondence, you have a letter from Sharon Crane dated March 12, 2019, regards Circle Beach. As you can tell, I met with a group of residents. This is the last half mile of roadway leading from Madison to the Grass Island area. There are 11 households there who are significantly concerned about the ability to access their properties, particularly during high tides and, particularly during some of the lunar cycles, where they're having to drive through a couple of feet of water on portions of their road, not the entire roadway. As you might have suspected, I made no promises to the group, other than that we will look at some options. Those options include working with the town of Madison on funds that are going to be available to us as a result of the water company having extended the water main down that road. The water company has indicated a willingness to allow the town of Madison and Guilford to get have funds distributed at our disposal for roadway improvements that would normally have gone for what they were required to do to patch and seal the roadway.
After they dig.
Right.
Main.
There's another consideration here. It is my understanding that the state is contemplating investing some funds in shoring up access to the boat launch and the boat and modifications to that boat launch area anyway. So we've gone through Sean Scanlon and Christine Cohen. We're reaching out to the state to see whether or not there'd be some shared opportunities there. Our understanding is that boat launch is one of the busier boat launches along the shoreline because it's free, and folks have great access immediately into the sound, as well as both up the East River. So it's a popular place. So long term, we start talking about the coastal resilience stuff, and for those who understand the expression 2050, 20 inches of sea level rise by the year 2050, that area may well become an island. So the question is, what do we do there relative to investing? But there is a public safety component to this too, because we need to be able to get emergency vehicles in and out, as well as those folks need to be able to get access in and out when they have health emergencies.
How many houses are there?
11. There are 11, and as you note,
11 in Guilford?
there are 11 in the Guilford part. Now Madison has the same struggle with portions of that road. we'll be working with Madison and with the state, try to come up with some kind of solution. Ironically, in the coastal resilience report that was done in 2015, I think it was, it notes that Circle Beach Road may not be suitable for road elevation projects because that area is built on what they contend to be shifting sands. We've got a little bit of a challenge here. So I'll keep you updated on that. Working with Janice. Janice has already reached out to the Madison town engineer, and I put a call into Tom Banish in Madison to see how we can address this collectively.
The person who wrote to us speaks in terms of being a Guilford resident, but the letterhead says Madison.
Yeah, I wondered that.
That's because that's their postal. That's the postal.
So this is a Guilford resident?
It's a Guilford resident.
Okay.
It's on, that property's on the Guilford tax rolls. Mitch?
The building official applications are closing this Friday, the 22nd.
Thank you. Okay, more to follow.
I bet.
Yes. Item 9, committee reports. Lou?
After our last meeting, I stopped in to see Aaron, who is working on the project. The fact that Bill is leaving is gonna be, both an opportunity and a little bit of a challenge.
Right.
Changing systems as well as bringing a new person on board, but maybe that works out pretty well. But she's got everything she needs. She's gonna pull something together, and hopefully she'll get me something by next week.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Anything, I don't think we have any other committees. Old business? New business? I had 2 items under new business. The first of which is, and I forgot to bring the T-shirt in, on Thursday last, March 14th, I had the privilege of presenting a proclamation to the Guilford Apple Pie Robotics.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. As you can well imagine, this is a group of very industrious and bright young people, not only Guilford residents, but from Madison as well. Many of these robotics teams are affiliated with a specific high school. We are, this is somewhat of a regional team. The sponsoring organization is the 4-H Club. And I know the Bishops provided a significant amount of seed money many years. Al Bishop was a prime benefactor of that. Ergo the apple, and then pie. And of course, 314, for those of you who remember their math, 3.14159, that's as far as I remember in terms of the pi equation, which is what, circumference and, you know the drill. So anyway, I had the opportunity to spend an hour. I did not get to drive the robot, which I was a little disappointed in, but they were smart enough not to let me try. But nonetheless, they will be competing in a series of events and hope to make it to the nationals again. So, anyway, and I think Karen and I have Karen has put Tickwas in there. We're going to declare March 14th Apple Pie Day every year to bring attention to the work that some of these kids are doing. So it's great. One other piece of new business for tonight's meeting at the Board of Finance, Bloom Shapiro in their management letter had identified 2 areas that we need to address. One was related to capital assets, and this is, and Mary Jane can talk to this a little bit, but it's effectively implementing best practices to create efficiencies relative to how we track the assets. We're currently doing capital assets in a spreadsheet. They're suggesting we ought to roll it into the Munis system itself. Mary Jane.
That the majority of our assets, fixed assets, are in Munis. This is the infrastructure, roads and stuff that historically, for some reason, were never put in, so we're gonna be busy.
The second is around cybersecurity, and they are recommending that we engage a third party to do a cyber threat analysis. Basically, in the industry, it's called penetration testing. They, among other things, they try to do brute force attacks on your network to make sure you've got the various layers of protection. And this is something we had always contemplated, but we will, our plan is to do this after we have done the upgrades that we've talked about. In addition, in the capital budget this year is, we have a new firewall system that we are anticipating implementing. Once we complete the work, we then anticipate utilizing the services of an organization to do this kind of external testing.
This is a great segue into my next comment. Well, remember last week I called yourself and
Yep.
Karen
Yep.
regarding the Zix?
Yep.
And if you notice in the application for the alcohol on the green,
Right.
my machines at home blocked the Zix,
Really?
which was part of that email.
Email.
That's part of that
That's the one that
email.
was missing.
Report with Zix. It popped up on this iPad too.
Okay.
And my machines blocked it. And, you know, well, my question was, they were using my town email versus my standard email.
Right.
And my machines at home blocked it all
Right.
because it wouldn't allow the Zix because it had potential corruption.
Yeah.
The email. So that was our question last
Question,
week. Remember how we
Yeah.
were involved?
Right. So we will be looking to do, they call it a vulnerability risk assessment is the term, but having done those, been involved in information technology in the past, they're largely considered penetration tests. They try to get in, and they do it from a variety of means. They do it from a technical, they also do a bit of social engineering as well. They actually pick up the phone, they call people, particularly
Use
as.
your name.
That's right, particularly as it relates to.
That says do this.
Yep, and Mary Jane?
I'll just add that I attended a SCROG meeting of area finance directors last week, and one of the topics on the agenda was exactly this, and there was a organization that has been, say hired, but the Capital Region Council of Governments has a contract with this company that we, anybody is able to jump onto, but they talked about the exact same topic.
Right.
And offered those same exact services.
And ironically, Bloom Shapiro was presenting at that, was it Bloom?
GFOA, yeah, I went to my GFOA quarterly meeting, and Bloom Shapiro was speaking on this exact topic, and they provided a survey, a simple survey that all organizations should take as far as cybersecurity, and so I've provided that as a backup for that as well.
Good. Anything further? Under new business, no? Public forum? Hearing none? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second under.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recused, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Charlie?